So, on this process of the spiritual stations, each spiritual station is correlated to a particular spiritual dis-ease. Each spiritual station is correlated to a particular spiritual disease. When we say Tawba, when we seek the forgiveness of Allah, Allah is At-Tawwab, Al-Ghafur, Al-Ghafar. When we seek the forgiveness and the pardon of Allah, it is reported that the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that if there was no one to sin, remember Allah tells us clearly, had he wanted to, he could have made us angels. We could have all been angels. Just angelic beings, just never sinning, never had, bad thoughts, never saying anything, just in total obedience to Allah. But if that was the superior state of being, then Allah would have told Adam to bow down to the angels instead of telling the angels to bow down to Adam. The angels can't disobey Allah. It's impossible. They can't. But yet Allah told Adam, who he created in perfect proportion and put in Adam an inclination towards good and evil. And Allah told the angels, who had no inclination towards good or evil. The angels don't have an inclination towards good, nor do they have an inclination towards evil, because they have no will. So you say, but they do only good. No, they do. Okay, we say the angels do only good, correct? Isn't there an angel of death? Doesn't the human being have a conscious awareness of death? And people would say, well, if the angels did only good, then why do people have to die? Why do there have to be an angel that's going to come and take your soul? So the angel of death cannot refuse to take the soul when it's time to go. So they have no inclination towards good or bad. They have no questions. But yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Adam, to whom the human being, Adam being the prototypical human being, who Allah put in Adam the inclination towards good and evil, and told the angels, who could do no evil, to bow down to Adam. So the human being was created in perfect due proportion and given an inclination towards good and evil. And those who were engaged in the process of purification, listen, those who were engaged in the process of purification of the self, heart, and soul will have succeeded. And those who were engaged in the process of corrupting the heart, self, and soul would have failed. So those who are engaged in the purification of the heart, self, and soul, that's what this process is all about. The purification of the heart, self, and soul. Actively engaging in seeking out to gain a higher level of spiritual consciousness in the cleansing of the heart, so that the belief can enter into the heart, because belief will never enter into a corrupted heart. It's impossible. A heart that is corrupted can never be filled with belief because it's corrupt. And one of the primary definitions of a believer is that they fight against corruption. They fight against abuse. They fight against enslavement. They fight against genocide and all of these evils of human behavior. The believers should be actively engaged in fighting against these things. If they can, with their hands. If they're not able with their hands, with their tongue, speak out against it. And if they're unable, for whatever reason, with their tongues, they must detest corruption and evil and enslavement and abuse and genocide and all of these things that are within the concept of human corruption. Those who have belief in their heart must be engaged in fighting these things. Fighting these things. First, the war must begin within our own selves. The war must begin within our own selves. We must begin to fight within our own selves the inclination towards corruption, because we all have within us the inclination towards good and evil, purity and corruption. So we must program ourselves to constantly being in the process of seeking out the good and staying away from the evil. And we must constantly be in the process of purifying the heart and constantly being in the process of not allowing our hearts to become corrupt. Constant. And the deeper the understanding comes of the importance of being actively engaged in seeking the purification of the heart in all matters in life, the more you will become grateful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed you to be conscious of the fact that your heart needs to be purified. You will be grateful. You will be thankful. Because most people have hearts that are corrupt, but they don't even recognize the corruption of their hearts. They don't even recognize it. They just go on in the continuance of those things which are corroding and darkening and blackening the heart. They just keep doing it. And sometimes it becomes even generational. It could be passed on from one generation to another. How do you know this? It's in the Quran. Allah tells us clearly that every child is born a Muslim with a disposition towards submitting, pure. Every baby is pure. And Allah tells us that it is the parents or the guardians and the environment in which that child is raised and placed in that corrupts the child. But the child in and of itself is pure. But it's the parents and the environment. So if you're in a good environment, but you have corrupt parents, then there's going to be a challenging battle within yourself, because your environment is good, but the people in your environment are a little off. Or if you're surrounded by people who are good, your guardians, your custodians, your parents, but they have you in a negative environment. They surround you with negative people. They surround you in an environment that radiates negativity, and because of your developing mind as a child, this negativity has an effect upon you. So, every child is born submissive. So the natural inclination of the human being is towards goodness. That's why we have what's known as a fitra, a nature. That fitra is inclined towards good. But because of the situation and the circumstances and the environment and the people in our lives, it could shift towards that which is other than good. Because Allah has put within us the capacity towards good and evil. We have a choice. And it's because of that choice that for the human being and the jinn, the men and jinn, the human and the jinn, who have a choice, there will be a punishment or there will be a reward. Animals, they're driven by instinct. There's no punishment. If a lion kill 1,000 animals, a lion don't have to stand before a judgment on the day of Allah and be judged because he killed 1,000 animals. Why? Because that lion is driven by instinct. Instinct. And that lion will not kill except for its own survival. The human being is the only created entity that will shed blood for no reason. No reason. This is why we're told that the angels asked, you are going to put, oh Allah, you are going to put as the vicegerent, as the Khalifa on the earth, this being, this human that's going to shed blood and cause corruption on the earth. There is no way of overstating the significance of shedding blood. For no reason. There's absolutely no justification for abusing, enslaving, genocide, murdering other human beings. For no reason. For no reason. The human being is the only human being and the jinn are the only entities that have this capacity to do this. That's why there's an inclination towards good and evil. And that's why there is a reward and punishment. And that's why there is a judgment. That's the reason. So how do we develop a process within ourselves to where we begin to incline towards those things that will bring us benefit on the day of judgment when we stand before Allah to be accountable? It takes spiritual training. And that's what the interdimensional paths of Islam are all about. All of them. All of them are about the same thing. Every interdimensional spiritual path of Islam, the objective is to arrive on the day of judgment in a condition that is pleasing to Allah. That's it.